Okay, good day, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Peter Llewellyn, and I run the community activity at MedComms Networking, medcommsnetworking.com, which is global community activity for people working in and around medical communications, education, publishing. One of the things I'm doing at the moment, I'm trying to run some of these webinars, which anyone can join in with from anywhere in the world, every Wednesday, 12 o'clock UK time. Come and join in and see who's talking. If you want to see what's planned, go to medcommsnetworking.com and you'll see the meetings being listed there. One of the things that I've done, I think quite successfully over the last few years, is we've gone out beyond MedComms, as it were, to academia, to other parts of the industry, and told them about MedComms and the fact that there's some great careers here. And we're trying, with a lot of what we're trying to do, to explain MedComms, what it's about, how to get into the business, what you can expect when you get here. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about specifically about HEOR market access writing. And I'm delighted today that we've got the guys from DRG to come along, and they will give us a short presentation on themselves, the company, and explain the business. And then we will open it up for some questions and answers from everybody. Thank you. And I think on that note, I think we can just hand over. So I think hand over to Marie from DRG, and she'll introduce her team.
Okay, I'm just bringing the slides up. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Peter. So we would just like to start with introductions. So my name is Marie Cuddon. I'm the UK recruitment manager for DRG. We also, today I'm joined by my colleagues within our medical writing team. We have Deb Burford, who is our head of medical writing. Hi. We have Laura Eaton, who is our medical writer. And we also have Claire Fielden joining us today, who's our trainee medical writer. Hello. Thanks, Marie. So first of all, we're actually going to start with a question. If you're new to medical writing and you're possibly not really that aware of the fact that there are different types of medical writing agencies, but the question is, what type of medical writing do you want to do? There are different agencies that specialise in regulatory writing or medical communications or market access writing. And today we're going to focus on market access writing, which is what we do at DRG Abacus. Don't need to answer that question. No answers on a postcard, but just something to think about when you're thinking about your career. Right. To begin with, I'd like to briefly go over who we are as a company and introduce DRG. DRG, so we work within the healthcare markets, providing end-to-end solutions to our clients to help them make informed decisions on the healthcare industry, ultimately to improve the lives of patients. Over the past 30 years, DRG have grown and evolved within the healthcare market, and we have expanded our business and our offering to our clients by acquiring select companies that each specialise in a unique facet of healthcare. At the bottom of this slide, you will see the brands that DRG have acquired, one of them being Abacus International, which is the area that we will focus on today, and Deb will go into a little bit more detail about DRG Abacus shortly. So DRG as an organisation, we are truly a global business. We employ over 1,000 employees across 16 offices in 7 countries. We have a diverse workforce of talent, so roughly 75% of our employees hold advanced degrees, whether that be PhD, MBA, MPH, and over 40 languages are spoken across the globe. DRG provides solutions to our clients within the life sciences area. So we work with 48 of the top 50 life sciences companies across the world, and also within medtech. So we work with 17 of the top 20 medical device companies across the world. So a little bit about DRG Abacus. We specialise in market access medical writing, as we've just said. So in order to do this, we need to understand the market, we have to optimise access, and we have to communicate the value of our clients' products that they're wishing to launch or increase the uptake of. To do this, we work with our teams of in-house specialists. So we work with our project managers and consultants, we work with the statisticians and the health economists, we have systematic reviewers and developers, and we work really closely with our design team as well. So a little bit more about our MedWriting team. We currently have 15 people. Most of our people are based in Bicester, which is about 10 miles outside of Oxford. And we also have a team based in Manchester city centre. So this is our team. So we have 15 writers, as I've said, 4 principal writers, 4 senior writers, 3 writers, and 4 trainee writers. The length of service with DRG Abacus ranges from 1 week up to 11 years. So all our writers have a PhD. This isn't a requirement for all medical writing companies and agencies. Different companies you'll find have different recruiting criteria, but it is one of our recruitment criteria. For us, we find that a PhD teaches you certain transferable skills, such as analytical skills, and it also teaches you perseverance, of course. So I'll now pass you over to Laura to introduce herself and also talk about her path into medical writing.
Hi, so my background is I went to the University of Manchester, where I did a PhD in immunology and toxicology. And following that, I worked as a postdoc at the University of Manchester for around 5 years. And then when I came to the end of my contract, I realised that the traditional academic route of becoming a PI wasn't really for me. Now, my postdoc had a very clinical focus and I really enjoyed that. So I wanted to stay on the medical side of things, but move away from lab work and bench work. Around that time, a couple of my friends had just moved into medical writing and they were really interested in that. So I thought that that could be a possible career option for me. When I was looking for jobs, I chose DRG Abacus because I was really interested in learning about market access, and also I really liked the idea of working across a variety of different deliverables and disease areas, and also because of the training structure that they offered as well. So as a trainee medical writer, during my first month, I worked through the training pack, which was basically exercises to familiarise myself with the deliverables that DRG Abacus produce. But then following on from that, it was very much on-the-job training. So I was assigned to my own projects under the supervision of a senior medical writer as well. And since then, my role has evolved. So I'm now a medical writer, and I now have more independence on projects and more interaction with clients as well. So what I'll do now is I'll pass over to Claire and she'll tell you a bit more about her background and experience.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, my name's Claire. My path into medical writing is slightly different from what Laura has described. So I worked for 20 years within the NHS as a clinician. So my speciality was cochlear implants. So I worked within the field of audiology and I specialised in medical devices relating to hearing loss. During that time, my time at the hospital, I decided I wanted to do a bit of research. So I did a part-time PhD at the University of Manchester, specifically looking at outcomes from cochlear implantation, which was actually slightly more physics-based than anything else looking back. But so I got that. And then I did a 3-year postdoc after that. And I really enjoyed the research. I really enjoyed the writing. But unfortunately, my research term came to an end and there was no more funding to renew it. I did not want to go back at this point into full-time clinical work. So then I started thinking, well, what else can I do? You know, I'm 20 years in, what can I do? So I found out about medical writing by accident. I just stumbled across it one day and I thought, oh, am I too old to restart a career? But I made some inquiries and given my background as a clinician and my background in medical devices, I kind of felt that when I was looking around that a market access firm was quite good for me, because I thought I had skills that could be transferable. I had some knowledge of how medical devices come onto the market. And I found DRG and it kind of felt like the right fit for my skill set. So I joined the team here, and I've been working in Vista now for the last 8 months or so. And what have I learned since I started? Well, when you restart your career, you learn a lot of things, and I have learned so many things here. Like Laura said, we train on the job. There's an initial training period to get you up to speed with basics that you'll need to know, and then you train on the job. So since I've been here, I've had opportunities for technical writing, for creative writing. I've learned about health economics and value messages. I get to work on a variety of different deliverables with a different number of therapy areas and different messages. I'm part of a med writing team, but I also contribute to other teams and different projects. I've had opportunities to have direct contact with clients, which is good. And I know there will be career progression opportunities for me if I would like to take them. So I've mentioned a bit about market access writing, and maybe you haven't heard of it. So I'll pass back on to Deb now. Deb's going to talk to you a little bit more about what market access writing actually involves.
Thanks, Claire. Okay, so we go back to the original question. What type of medical writing do you want to do? The types of medical writing are associated with different deliverables that you can work on. So our market access writing means that we work on a really wide range of projects. They can range from really technical documents to more design infographic-based projects. So this is just a bit of a snapshot of different types of deliverables that you could be working on as a medical writer. So talking a little bit more about what we do at DRG Abacus. So I'm going to call out a few here that Laura will mention again later. So we can work on posters, which could be working with client data, and sometimes it will be working with one of our in-house teams, maybe working with a health economist to make a poster around a model that they've developed for a client. We work on health technology assessments, which are very technical documents that are submitted to reimbursement agencies such as NICE in the UK. We can work on value story decks where we work really closely with our design team to find a way to communicate the value of a product, but in a really visual way. We can work on an evidence review, which is when we get a file of data from the client and we have to sit down and assimilate it, and then also then work out where the gaps in their evidence lie and how it could possibly be filled. Or we could be working with systematic review team in order to generate a report so that they can pull together their systematic literature reviews. But actually, within Abacus, we work on all of these in purple now as a market access agency, and it keeps the job really varied and interesting. Another thing to say is that we don't niche our writers by disease area. So you'll be able to work on a whole heap of different deliverables across many different diseases, and you learn lots of different writing styles that way. So I'll now pass back to Claire to talk you through a sort of typical day.
Thanks, Deb. Yes, every day is different and each day brings new things to try. So I've tried to sort of to give you an idea of what a typical day for a trainee medical writer might include. So what you see on the screen here is my project work / training. So that really accounts for the majority of my working day. The training aspects are more prominent when you first start in the job, and there are There are, as Laura said, there's a training pack you can work through to teach you about different forms of writing, different deliverables. There's also training from the other teams within DRG. So there's training about health economics, for instance, and you get to learn about value messaging. There's training for systematic reviews. So you get to know a bit about the company and the different types of project work that we do. So the training aspect is there very prominently at the start, but it quickly falls away to sort of more, you are here now, you're a medical writer, and let's get you involved, some hands-on project work, which is great. So other than the project work that I do in my day, some examples here are of things that you would be typically expected to do. So you would always check your emails when you first go in, make sure there's nothing urgent to pick up. Once a week, we have a MedWriter team meeting where we get to allocate projects, new projects as they come in, and we can discuss capacity as well. So if somebody's a bit overloaded or there's a tight deadline, maybe we can juggle things around. So that happens once a week. Later in the morning, I may have an internal project meeting to catch up, to prepare for a kick-off meeting that is happening that afternoon. At some point, I will get a catch-up with my manager. We do that on a regular basis to make sure I have everything I need. Lunches can be quite good fun because we have lunch and learn from time to time, and we get food brought in, which is quite cool. We get regular town hall meetings as well for the whole team, so med writers go along to that, and then we get updates from management as well about business initiatives for the company to keep us in the loop. Then in the afternoon, then you may get your project kickoff that I prepared for earlier in the day. So we get a telephone call with clients to find out what will be involved in that project and developing the timelines and so on. And then at the end of the day, you'll fill out your time sheets, you'll finish your emails, and then you'll go. So not everything happens every day, and the bulk of my time really is filled up with project work, and I fit in the meetings around that. But it's very varied, and no 2 days are alike. So to find out a little bit more about what the project work entails, Laura now is going to talk to you about the different types of work that you may get to be involved in.
So as the project work is so varied, you'll generally find that you'll be working on a number of different projects at the same time. Now, sometimes you'll have 1 week where you think, oh, I spent the whole of my week working on one project, but then other days you'll switch between multiple projects within the same day, so it really is quite varied. But what I thought I would do now is just go through a few examples of the type of work you could expect to do as a trainee medical writer at DRG Abacus. So a lot of the work we do is supporting other colleagues. So this could be supporting medical writers as well. So you may be asked to help put together a reference pack for another medical writer. Or say, for example, someone from the consulting team could ask you to QC a proposal for them. Or there may be an analyst from the systematic review team, and they might need some help with drafting a report. So that could include anything from proofreading the report to actually helping them draft sections as well. And also you'll be assigned to your own, as the writer on your own projects. So a couple of examples that Deb mentioned earlier. So you may be asked to draft the clinical section of a value dossier. You may receive evidence from the client, which you may need to assess. And also we work on things like posters as well. And particularly when you first start as a trainee writer, your work will get checked by a senior medical writer as well. So some of the work will involve making amends following review of your drafts. And a big part of our job as well is liaising with other teams. So when we work on deliverables, it's not just medical writers, it's the other departments as well. So say, for example, if you were working on a payer value story slide deck, you'd have meetings with the designer, and together you would discuss the layout of the slides and how you want the messaging of the product to come across. And if you're working on HTA submission dossier, it will be important to liaise with the health economist working on the project and also the strategic advisor as well. So that's a rough idea of the kind of work that we do.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, so what do you need for a medical writing career with DRG Abacus? So these are a few of the things that we look for. So of course we've already mentioned the PhD, but as I said, that's not across all agencies. We also look for attention to detail and initiative. We want our writers to be solution focused. so that they're focusing on helping out the clients and dealing with any problems that might crop up along the way. We're looking for analytical skills. You need great communication skills. Everything that we do is about communication, whether it's communicating the value of a product or communicating with the clients, or even just communicating in-house with other teams and colleagues and the med writing team. You need to be a team player. You need to have a passion for writing, of course, and a big one, be willing to learn, because there is a lot to learn. It never stops. So why choose Abacus? So as writers, we work on a really broad range of projects. And because we're a large company, that means that we get to work with other colleagues around the globe, which is a brilliant resource to tap into. There are lots of opportunities for personal development, and we encourage all our writers to think about and to drive their own career. As we've mentioned before, writers or trainees start working on the training pack, but within a few weeks you'll be working with a senior writer and being involved in project work, and most of our training is on the job. We ensure that all trainees get a really broad range of experience and work on all the deliverables that we do. But as your career progresses, you'll find there are certain things that you really like working on. And then the opportunities are there for you to pick up other aspects of a senior writer role. So you could move into line management as well. You could pick up some of those responsibilities. You could start mentoring the new trainee writers that come in. You can pick up some of the project management work. And of course, as you get really experienced, then you'll take on more of a strategic advice role in your projects and more of a consultant role if you want to. So about the environment, we work in a really fast-paced, challenging and stimulating environment, which is great. And then the team, we have a really supportive team, not just the med writers around you, but also DRG Abacus and the wider DRG, and there's a great team spirit and of course lots of fun, and as Claire's mentioned, pizza lunches. So now I'll hand you over to Marie.
Brilliant, thank you, Deb. Great. So now you know you've had the opportunity to find out a little bit more about DRG Abacus and medical writing specifically within a market access agency. So on the screen now are our contact details. If you'd like to know more, we are actively recruiting. So you can find out more by visiting us on various channels, which is on the screen. Me directly, LinkedIn, the Abacus website, or follow us on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent, thanks. Deb, can you unshare your screen, as it were, and we'll just go back to the videos.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. That was interesting and comprehensive, so thanks. But can I just ask Marie, maybe just, I don't think I'm asking you to repeat yourselves. Just give us a couple of sort of clues. The other roles around you, I think you said there are 50 medical writers, and you talked a bit about consultants and analysts. Just give us a little bit of a flavour for the other sorts of roles, because not everybody listening to this might be wanting specifically to be a medical writer, or there are opportunities in slightly different angles.
Yeah, no, good question. So yeah, DRG. So within DRG Abacus specifically, we have multiple opportunities available. So if you're looking outside of medical writing, and you have predominantly we look at individuals who have a degree within life sciences. That's usually very transferable to our industry. So somebody who we have many opportunities available as trainees. So if you had a sort of passion for looking to work within the life science industry, within market access, there would be opportunities available, whether that be within our systematic review team, where it's very analytical. You're managing large volumes of data. There's a lot of work involved there. Opportunities within our consulting team, within DRG Abacus as well, coming in as a trainee associate. So, aside from medical writing, there are a wide range of opportunities available for other angles as well for your career.
Excellent. Okay, and just again to put some context on this, perhaps for everybody, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you've talked about yourself as a market access consultancy specifically, yeah. And a lot of what we're doing around MedComms is other more sort of general MedComms agencies, some of whom have either specialist divisions or do some specialist work in market access, whereas you're the market access agency. So it's all part of a spectrum, but it's worth, again, people understanding that spectrum is there. There are agencies that do a bit of market access or HEOR, or even have divisions or whatever. There are agencies like yours, consultancies, that then specialise in that. And I'm sure you go back a little bit the other way, and then some of what you could say was more MedComms as well. But it's very difficult with the language to define exactly what those lines are. But you're very much market access. That's your focus, yeah. Which would make you different to some of the other agencies that maybe we'll have on webinars and things. Can you just also maybe, and having said that, which is good, I think, Marie, to show the wider opportunity, but to come back to the beginning for the writers. If a writer, if anyone, say online, is interested in, let's just be very specific, anybody watching this is interested in contacting you about the work, and you've given your contact details, which is great. What's the sort of process they're going to go through? And the sort of the writing tests, I guess, you would offer, and so on. Just give us a flavour for that process that they're going to have to go through to get the job if they get there.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we, upon application, we would look for a candidate to submit a covering letter and a CV. I always think covering letters are really important to demonstrate that the reason for why you're applying for this particular role, why the company, why do you want to work for DRG Abacus? So I think that's really important. Upon submission of application, we would then ask you to complete a written assessment, as you said, Peter. We'd send that out. We typically give a week to ask individuals to send their results back to us. That is then reviewed by Deb. There's a panel of 3 that review the written assessments. So Deb and 2 of her colleagues will review that. And then should you pass the writing test, we would then invite you into the office for an interview. We always say that that's really, really important, that that's a two-way process. As much as it is obviously, DRG Abacus are assessing talent potentially, it's really about the individual assessing us as a potential employer. Are we somewhere that, are we an employer that they want to be a part of and they want to work for? Is this the culture that they want to come into? And do we offer the areas that are of interest to the individual? When you come in for interview, it would be an opportunity to meet with Deb there'll be a series of questions. But what's also really nice as part of the interview process, once you've had your formal interview, Deb then organises an opportunity for the individual to go into the kitchen, have tea, coffee, but also meet with various members of the medical writing team. So again, you get an opportunity to maybe ask some of those questions of your potential peers that maybe you don't necessarily want to ask in an interview environment. So again, that's fairly informal, fairly relaxed, just to give the individual opportunity to ask those questions.
Okay, cool. Just a reminder, to the audience, that we're waiting and looking out for the questions and comments from you guys. So you should have a couple of opportunities to do that. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you've got a chat button, a Q&A button. So do send us your questions, although I can keep this going if you want me to, so don't worry about that. One more from me, just to finish this my line of thinking off. And this might be a little bit difficult to answer, but I'm intrigued to see how you answer it, I suppose. Market access, HEOR writing, we've already said is a specialist area. So what is it that's a little bit different about people that you're looking for that makes them more sort of suitable for their specialist area of writing as opposed to other areas of medical writing? Are there things that you're really looking for? Are there things that people need to think about? This is an area I'm particularly interested in. What are the bits that are going to push the right buttons beyond ability to
I think analytical skills, so being able to take a huge amount of data and really get into it and ask questions of that data and sometimes of the client too, and really pull the best from the data in order to be able to communicate the value of that product. So what you're looking for might not necessarily be the obvious story behind that product, but you pull out anything to do that can promote the drug or the medical device against other competitors in the market. So it's really being able to take a big amount of information and turn it into something easy to understand across the board. So I think analytical skills are key, and to show initiative as well. So we are a consultancy and our clients rely on us and they want us to come up with solutions. So they might not necessarily know the questions that they need to be asking, but we should still be offering them the advice. So we still need to go down that path.
Okay, but just trying to pin you down a little bit more. So if it's HEOR, health outcomes, economics outcomes research, market access, are you looking for people who are, I don't know, are particularly keen on dealing with financial data or something?
Well, as a company, we do all sorts of different things. So we can work on financial reports, we can work on the economic models. So if you're very technically minded, then that is definitely an advantage, because you'll be used to thinking along those lines and sort of following through. So yeah, that's definitely a help.
To flip that around, as a writer, you don't have to be that technically minded about the numbers, as it were.
No, you don't have to be, and certainly it's something that we would train on. You would get used to dealing with numbers, and it's not sitting down working with pages and pages of numbers. That's not really what we do. It's about taking the key information out and telling a story around it
for the appropriate audience. So you've got your analysts,
yes,
and your statisticians and people like that around you, sort of thing. Yeah?
Yes, so we've got lots of in-house experience that we can tap into and ask questions of, and then it's up to us to turn that into something really simple for anybody to understand. And there are different layers or different levels of understanding that people need. So if you're talking to an HTA agency, then they'll be used to dealing with things on a really technical basis. If you're talking to payers and prescribers, then they want the information, they just want to know top line. So you need to be able to communicate something really quickly through your deliverable to them.
Okay, one thing just occurs to me, we're using a bit of jargon in here. HTA agency? So
that's Health Technology Assessment. So they're people like NICE or the Scottish Medicines Consortium in Scotland. So different countries have a different HTA body that will approve a drug.
Okay, cool. No, thank you for that. And we need to just be a little bit careful there. I just noticed that one. Just as a general point, and then this seems a sensible point to put it in to the audience. For those of you who don't know, I run FirstMedCommsJob.com. There's a service there providing lots of information about careers in medcoms. It includes, for instance, a careers guide about HEOR market access writing, which comes out each June, and in which DRG have contributed to. So some of this, it would certainly be worth going back and having a look at that guide. You can download it from the website. We've got a question here. Let's pick up a couple of questions over here. So Lynn's asked, basically coming in from Malaysia, I guess. So just talk about the global opportunity. So basically, what are the opportunities to be a medical writer at global scale? I'm Malaysian. Noted that PhD is required. However, what are the opportunities for a master's student? Lynn, if you're hearing me, you might want to just clarify, are you actually in Malaysia or are you Malaysian based somewhere else? I guess there's two aspects to that question. But Marie, can we led by you? What are those opportunities globally?
Yeah, no. So we have, as we mentioned, we've got 16 offices across seven countries, a big presence within North America, and also Asia Pacific as well. So we've got offices in Singapore and in Gurgaon in India and Bangalore and Mumbai actually. So real growing areas for us. For a career within medical writing, as Deb mentioned, as part of our criteria, we do look for individuals who have that PhD. So that is an area of criteria for medical writing. That said, obviously, there are, as we mentioned earlier, there are other opportunities if you're looking to come into an organisation within the healthcare industry where you have that life science background, so you have the masters and you're looking to build on your working experience. You would take a slightly different route because you wouldn't be going directly into the medical writing team, but there are opportunities available.
And sorry, just to clarify, I'm sorry if I'm missing something there, but the writers you've got are all based in the UK?
Yeah, all of our writers are based in the UK.
Okay, cool. And a typical a question does sometimes come up at these sorts of meetings. It's about sort of non-native English speakers and so on. I mean, at the end of the day, presumably the line would be it's the English language, ability to write English is going to be very important here.
Yeah. Yes, it is. So we have people in the team whose first language isn't English, but their English skills are phenomenal. So that's what we're looking for, is clarity of writing and correct. So
yeah, no, cool. So yeah, so there's a couple of ways of coming at that sort of a question. Yeah, okay. A bit more jargon here. Actually, another question from over here, but I'm going to throw it at you, see whether you know what they're referring to. What kind of process involved in the recruitment of specialists, e.g. MPH? I'm desperately trying to think what MPH means for some of the more analytical roles at DRG. So just going away briefly from writing again, but I'm going to throw MPH at you and see whether you've got you know what that is. If not, we'll just look blankly at each other. Anybody? Or Mohammed, would you like to clarify what MPH is? Nobody? Is that not meaning anything to anybody? Okay, it's fine. Let's not get bogged down. Oh, look, there you go. Okay, MPH, Master of Public Health. Okay, sorry. Okay, so you've got an MPH, Master of Health. So we're going to be back at the same question. We've sort of covered that, really. So we've talked about that in non-writing roles, there's a much broader opportunity for people with non-PhDs. Yeah.
Yes.
The process is going to be, I guess, similar. So is there anything special that we could add to that beyond what you've already said about the process of interviews and so on?
Yeah, the process would definitely be similar, Peter. So with all recruitment across DRG, it would follow a similar format. There would be some form of assessment. So we would looking, if outside of medical writing, for example, we may ask an individual to prepare a presentation on a challenge that they may have faced within the, whether it be academia or just to present something to us at interview. So we would choose a topic and ask them to prepare in advance. So it could be any assessment. If you were applying for a role within our health economics team, as an example, we have we may test your Excel, so we may ask you to complete a modelling exercise prior to interview. So the assessment would vary dependent on the role that you would be recruiting for, but you'd follow a similar route.
Got you. Okay. So another question. I don't want to get bogged down in this, but because you've made it very clear, but let's just touch on it. So we've got Anonymous actually saying you need the PhD. It's very clear. But there's an ongoing debate in the field of medical communications. Can you expand on why it's a specific requirement, considering other agencies are open to a variety of backgrounds, including those with just a BSc? Can I just put in that this is an ongoing debate, and agencies are different, and they do have strong views for lots of reasons. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's entirely fine. If you run a business, you make up your mind yourself, sort of thing. For what it's worth, I did do a little exercise earlier this year where I surveyed a number of companies in medical communications. How many people were coming in, and of those, how many had PhDs, postgraduate, and so on. And overall, there is no doubt there are opportunities for people with a BSc, let alone a sort of master's or whatever. There's also no doubt that the majority of people coming in from that survey, as I expected, have got PhD, if not postdoc. So it's not that it's an absolute, but there is a tendency that way across the business. But individual agencies are quite different. And I think to some extent you have to accept it, that people recruiting have the opportunity to make some decisions. But you've been clear about the PhD. Can you just maybe add to what I've just said and just wrap that up a little bit from your point of view? I think you've said you just find the PhDs have got that bit more experience, a bit more transferable skills and so on, which suits your sort of work. But is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. It fits in with the work that we do, and perseverance was another thing that I mentioned. So we get a lot of feedback. All the training is done through feedback, whether that's feedback from a client or a senior writer, and that will carry on happening. We're always getting feedback from clients, and that's something that you learn on your PhD when you're starting off with your writing. We also find that for us, people that have done a PhD and enjoyed their writing up, which the majority of people that write PhDs don't enjoy their writing up, but actually most of our team have enjoyed that phase. So it's quite nice to see that if you've done 3 months of writing up at the end of your PhD, then probably medical writing is a fairly good career for you.
And that's a common comment that comes in, you know, I've enjoyed writing my PhD. And it is a big flag that they're interested in writing. But I do think it's an ongoing debate, and it will. And I have been in situations where people have disagreed vehemently with each other from different agencies about the requirements. If anybody's interested in looking at the results of that survey, the easiest thing is probably go to MedComsNetworking.com to the surveys page, and you will find a number of surveys linked to, but one of the top ones at the moment will be a link to the article that I've written on LinkedIn, which just brought that data together. What I think, just at the moment, I've got one eye very much on the clock here. So what I'd like to do is say a huge thanks to DRG and finish this sort of formal part of this conversation on a slightly controversial note with a debate about PhDs. There you go. Can we just once again, Marie, I mean, there's an obvious point here. I'm sure you're all happy to be contacted on LinkedIn. Just Marie again, just the email address, the website address, just so that you can point people at it, although it's included in the slides earlier on.
Yeah, no, definitely. Absolutely. So if you would like to find out more about opportunities available at DRG, you can contact myself. My email address is mcuddon@teamdrg.com. Or you can visit the DRG website directly, so www.drgabacus.com.
Okay, fantastic. So a little bit longer again, as with all my recordings, than I'd intended to be, but I think it's all good stuff. So I'm going to close the formal part of it and stop the recording. And then for those of you online at the moment, please feel free to hang around. We'll carry on talking. We've still got some more questions here. So on that note, huge thanks to DRG and the team. And I'm going to stop the recording with everyone going, bye.
Bye.